All right, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling a puzzle that honestly, it sounds impossible. It's a paradox that really makes you question everything you thought you knew about sight, about imagination, even about consciousness itself. Seriously, just think about that for a second. Can you be blind but only when you're awake? I mean, it sounds completely backwards, right? How could your brain suddenly start seeing, but only when your eyes are shut tight and you're out cold? Well, believe it or not, for a whole lot of people, that's their everyday reality. So where does this whole story start? Well, it begins with a fascinating condition called aphantasia. Okay, do me a favor, picture an apple, right now. You can probably see it, right? Maybe it's red or green, you can see the shape, maybe even the little stem. Well, for someone with aphantasia, that mind's eye is just blank. There's no picture at all, just the idea of an apple but with zero visual. Okay, but here's where it gets really weird. This is the paradox. Even though they can't consciously picture a single thing when they're awake, a lot of these same people have these incredibly vivid visual dreams, like full-on Hollywood blockbusters in their head at night. So what is going on here? How can your brain's screen be totally blank during the day, but turn into a movie theater the second you fall asleep? To figure this out, we've got to look at two different systems in the brain. First, let's break down what's happening when we're awake and trying to picture something. We can think of this as the conscious command pathway. This whole thing is what's called a top-down process. It's totally deliberate. Imagine your prefrontal cortex. That's the CEO of your brain sitting up front decides, hey, I want to see an apple. It shoots a command back to your visual cortex, which is kind of like the brain's graphics department, and says, okay guys, render me an apple stat. For most of us, that command goes through instantly. But if you have aphantasia, that message it gets lost. The line is fuzzy, or maybe the wire's been cut completely. Okay, so that explains why things are blank when you're awake. But what about that movie theater at night? To get that, we have to look at a totally separate system. Let's call it the dream engine. This system runs on a completely different track. Neuroscientists call it the bottom-up pathway. And, the name kind of gives away the whole game. Yeah, so forget about that deliberate command from the CEO. This is more like a lightning strike. When you're in REM sleep, these really deep, ancient parts of your brainstem just fire up on their own, spontaneously. And those signals rocket up to the visual cortex and light it up directly. You're not asking for it, there's no intention. It's just this raw, chaotic blast of information that your brain then tries to turn into a story. So let's just lay it all out, side by side. You've got the top-down path. That's you, awake, consciously trying to do something. Then you've got the bottom-up path. That's totally automatic, happening when you're asleep, kicking off from deep inside the brain without you even knowing it. Think of it like two totally separate highways that, weirdly enough, both end up at the same place, your visual cortex. Okay, so we've got our two pathways, right? The conscious, deliberate road and the unconscious, automatic superhighway. Now, finally, we can put it all together and crack this thing wide open. Here's the key. In aphantasia, that top-down road, the one from the CEO in the front office, is basically closed. The command to see an image gets sent, but it hits a dead end. And that's exactly why the mind's eye is blank when you're trying to use it. But, and this is the big reveal, the dream engine doesn't even use that road. It's got its own private expressway, that bottom-up one that goes straight from the brainstem to the visual cortex. And that road? It's wide open. It's perfectly fine. So the brain's graphics department is working just fine. It's just not listening to conscious commands. It's only getting activated by those automatic signals from the dream engine. This whole thing really forces you to step back and think. We talk about imagination like it's this one single thing. But what this paradox shows us is that's just not how it works. What we're learning here is that visualization isn't just one skill. Your brain has these different separate pathways for making pictures. The imagination that you control is really just one tool in the toolbox. There's this other, much more mysterious and automatic system running behind the scenes. It just goes to show that consciousness and imagination are so much more complicated than we usually give them credit for. And that leaves us with a pretty wild final thought, doesn't it? The idea that your brain has this fully functioning visual system that can just turn on and run all by itself without any input from you. It's kind of mind-blowing. It means a part of your brain can see even when you can't. And if it can do that, what else is it doing back there, behind the scenes, that you have absolutely no idea about?